Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. You know, this past year, I would have never thought that I would become the person that wears shoes inside of their own home. Not like actual tennis shoes, but or actual like shoes like that you would wear, when you're leaving the house, but like inside shoes. I have a pair of Nike slides. I have a pair of Crocs. And I have a pair of slippers. UGG slippers. Not a sponsor, but, if you want to, reach out. Help your boy out. But I almost never catch myself nowadays in my own house, in my own home, walking around my own home without some type of footwear on. Whether that be shoes, slippers, slides, or even just socks. Like, I haven't really, in the past year and a half, gone without any type of footwear in my own house. And I think I'm at the point now where I feel like I've been doing it for so long, and it's just natural to me, If I'm home, I'll put on some socks, throw on my slippers, depending if I'm gonna do stuff. If I have to go outside in my backyard, front yard, something not a big, task, I'll put on my Crocs. And if I'm, just gonna stroll around, either or, I'll put on my my slides. And then even if I'm just like in the house and I don't have really a pair of shoes around me, I'll just wear my socks on. I'm rarely barefoot nowadays. I don't know why that is. Is it because I have these other options of footwear that I just feel like I need to wear them whenever I have a chance because they're mine now? Some were gifts, some were bought, and I just feel like I need to wear them more often? Or just it's just the fact that I've gotten older, I need to wear something on my feet now. Being barefoot could be a not like a it's like almost like being childish, being barefoot all the time. I feel like maybe that's just my stupid brain, with the gears twisting, but I just feel like I gotta have something on my feet now, even if I'm just like lounging around the house or just like chilling at the house, not doing too much. I gotta have something on my feet. Like I even said socks. Like, I'm rarely barefoot now. I don't know what it is. It's definitely something that has come with age, though. I remember when I was a kid, I used to be barefoot in my house all the time. Not to say outside, I wasn't one of those kids where like they're just barefoot all the time. No, I hate that shit. Feet would get cut up. Sometimes it'd be hot outside. The asphalt, the sidewalks would be hot. The concrete would be scorching. Like, that's not comfortable. Some kids back then in the day, they would do that. And that would just boggle my mind. They'd just be like impenetrable. Their feet wouldn't get hot. It'd be like, what are you doing? This is insane. How do you survive like that? And I feel like they almost have an advantage over me and over people who wear shoes all the time. So I think if you can take me for example, me for this whole this example right now. Human beings, when we were, when we are in our early days, did not have shoes, probably. Maybe didn't have the right materials or didn't have the idea to make shoes, to put something on our feet that would protect us from stuff on the ground. Cuts, injuries, it being too hot, too cold, whatever. There was probably a time period where we did not have anything on our feet. And you have to think that at that point in time, the human foot was probably so durable, right? Super callous, durable, and resistant to most stuff on the ground at that point, that we just built up a resistance to the stuff on the ground just because we were always on our bare feet. Maybe we were like that one time. But if you also think about it, it might not be as recent as we think that we didn't have shoes. Meaning, I think in the Greek times, the Egyptian times, the Roman times, and even so on, after and even before that, I think a lot of depictions of humanity, we all had, in the ancient classical times of these early civilizations, they had something on their feet. Whether it be like a sandal or a little slipper or something. I think they all had something on their feet. At least something. Some type of cloth or some type of fabric. Maybe even an early version of a shoe. Something like that. The Greeks, in all of this media and all this stuff that we know and learn about the Greeks, TV shows, movies, cartoons, they always have these sandals. It's like kind of like what they were like. One of the things that they were known for is making these sandals, like almost like sandals like that went up all the way to your shins. If you ever watch Hercules, or you play some game or something like that, say in the Greek times, a la Assassin's Creed Odyssey, a lot of the sandals go up all the way up to their shin, like middle of their shin. It's a pretty cool design. I think that would be a cool thing to come back, if it ever were to. Nonetheless, there's there's time for that kind of fashion, time for that type of cycle of fashion in humanity, in pop culture, and just the culture in general, that it most likely won't come back again. But nonetheless, they're pretty cool, right? We always kind of think that in our mind. That's just what they wore because of what we've been told, the information that we have presented in front of us. Other cultures, had different types of footwear, sandals, slippers, like I've said. But even if you go forward a little more, like Viking times, they had like furry boots, furry like shoes, because it was so damn cold up in Scandinavia, modern day Norway, Sweden, Denmark, all those countries up there. They're super close to the pole, the North Pole, that is. And you have them developing a new type of shoe. A shoe meant for the snow. A shoe that was designed to keep your feet warm. Right? Some of the first boots of all time probably came from that area of the world. Why? Because the people there had to adapt and learn to make clothing items that fit their environment. It's kind of like how, here where I live in California, we have ACs. We have air conditioners. Why? Because in the summertime, it gets pretty cold. It gets pretty cold, and especially where I live, in Central California, it gets not cold. It gets hot in the summer, and it gets very, very hot. And there's not really much to cool us down in the summertime here because it doesn't really get breezy. It gets pretty scorching hot. The heat is real, and it is not pleasant. But if you were to go somewhere like in San Francisco, somewhere like in the Bay Area, they probably don't have air conditioners because it's not expected to get that hot up there. But that by the ocean, there's a lot of cold air there, a lot of wind. An air conditioner is probably not going to make any sense. You're adding an additional bill that you don't really need. Just open a window. And it's not even supposed to be that hot up there anyway, so it's probably not even necessary at that point. Other places also don't have ACs. Places in New York, the Northeast, sometimes they don't have air conditioners because of the same exact reason. It's just not as hot up there. It's not as hot there. I don't think that people who live in like Miami, or maybe who live in places like in the South where it gets really hot and doesn't really get cold at all, probably don't have heaters. Another way to put it is people who live in the South where the hurricane can strike at any moment, they have hurricane and flood insurance. We don't have that, specifically because we don't get floods. We don't get flooding. We don't get that much rain. Now, on the contrary, we have had a little bit of a spell of high rain precipitation in these past couple weeks, which has had a lot of people in California be a little concerned because it actually is flooding in certain areas more than we expected, more than we thought in such a short period of time. Now, of course, that's not, something that we want to have to deal with, but nonetheless, that's what happened. And I've seen videos of, again, mudslides, floodings, lots of rain, crazy rain, a lot of wind damage. It's like, oh shit, like, you think that this is another state, another part of the country. No, this is, pretty close to where I live. It's like, whoa, this is crazy. Now, luckily, where I live hasn't had the worst of it, but definitely has, gotten pretty blustery out there. It's kind of calmed down now. We're in a little bit of just a cold period of time. But nonetheless, it's just something that we're not adapted to. We don't need to adapt to it. It's just not a part of our way of life here, if you catch my drift. But kind of back to how we, we adapt to things. I think that the best thing that we as humans and as people can do, and not just in life-changing circumstances, but everyday circumstances, is our ability to adapt to different scenarios and different problems. Right? Because we have brains. Our brains are super smart and brilliant, and we are capable of doing incredible problem solving with our brains. And more than just if there's something in front of me, I'll either go around it, I'll jump over it, I'll dig underneath it, pick a way to do it. We can do it, right? But us as humans, we like to communicate other ways with other people and to brainstorm ideas and to rule things out and to pick and choose which one is the best one for that situation, these circumstances. Which, I'll be honest, can other animals do that? Can other animals actually speak to one another and say you got two ants, Dale and Paul, right? They get lost. They're trying to find their way back home. Do you think that, honestly, these ants can actually talk to one another in a way that they understand what they're saying and can create ideas, and they could brainstorm and say, this is the way we go, this is how we're going to get back to the hill, follow me, Dale. What if Dale is like, no, Paul, I don't think that your idea is the best way. Let's do what I want to do. And then Paul and Dale get into an argument, and then it's like they say, they agree to disagree and they go their separate ways. Is that even a thing that an ant can process? Can an ant even do that? Does it have the capacity to do what I just said? Humans definitely do. Humans, sometimes, if we are not on the same page with one another, we will abandon one another. Within the blink of an eye, it would just be over like that. There will be no other options at that point. We will just say, fuck you, and we will go our separate ways. That's happened before in the past. Not like to me, but like obviously people in this, this big grand world that we live in have had disagreements, and they've had to, walk away from each other because they just can't simply agree. Do animals actually do that? I don't think that they do. And I think that they do is because in every single TV show or movie, when they ever like feature like animals, right? Dogs, cats, whatever. Animated movies, cartoon movies, they always have them so that they can talk to each other, which I don't know if it's true or not, but if it was, that'd be pretty sick. I remember, I think it was one time I was watching Rugrats when I was really, really small. And I think that an episode had a part where it was like from the dog's point of view. And I remember because when they went to the dog observing the kids and the adults, the dog saw in black and white, and his hearing was all like super high tuned and echoey. And I don't know if that's like a true like idea or thought about how a dog sees and views the world, but it got me to thinking, like, where did that come from? Why is that even in this show? I know it's something so small that you're not really supposed to think about, but like, imagine if that's what it really was like for a dog to view people the way that it did in that show. Is it possible for us to see how other animals view the world? Not just me and you and people, but just the world. Is that possible? Is there a way to put in a chip in a dog or a cat or even a chimp to see what they are thinking at that moment? It's probably going to be not animal friendly. If that were to be the case, PETA might be on whoever does this' ass because it wouldn't be ethical, I would assume. But it would be interesting to see. It would be interesting for me to see, and interesting for everybody, and I think really truly everybody, to see the way another being views the world that isn't you. Because we can't even do that with actual people. Like, I can't like get a feed. We can't like put something in someone's brain and get a feed of what they are seeing. At least not to my knowledge, we can't. And if we did that, that might be classified as inhumane, and we won't be able to do it. It won't get passed. There's a lot of things out there, if you think about, that are too inhumane and too unethical for the government and scientists and committees and groups of people to pass, because it abides and disobeys laws that we already have in place and you have in place as your rights as a human being, like being cloned, right? I don't think that if a person agreed that they wanted to be cloned, I don't know if we were able to do that. I think that there's a lot of hoops and hurdles that company who is ever trying to create a clone of a person that they have to jump through, and lawsuits and shit that they have to do in order to get the approval for them to clone that person. Now, I brought this before up on another podcast episode where they have made synthetic meat out of brain and I believe heart tissue of certain animals that have already been dead, right? And they're not making like an actual new cow. They're just making like the muscle tissue that would be classified as, a steak or something like that. Or I think it was chicken, I think that I said. They're not actually making the actual chicken. They're just making the tissue, which in its own way is incredible science and incredible achievement. In order to the stepping stones to progress, putting one foot after the other and truly moving forward with this type of science and technology, it would eventually have to, evolve into cloning an actual human, which, if you think about, is scary. One, because, imagine this, right? Let's say science is so far advanced, and I volunteer to be cloned, and you get straight up a carbon copy of another me. And it was fully in the flesh, real. This person is me. He has my DNA, my thoughts, everything, my ability to speak, my ability to think. He has my ability to physically do what I can do, but it's not me. It's a different me. I don't want to think about that, because that just seems so science fiction-y and so, weird. And it would feel wrong, I think. I think it would be wrong. Now that I think about it, it's like that whoever would want to do that could make another me and do, does that clone have rights? Is he a person? Does he have his own free will? Is he allowed to do anything? Because technically he's been created by somebody. What happens at that point? What happens when he's created? Does he have his own free will, his own identity? Can he be free? Is he a free person? I don't know at that point. I don't, because he was created by someone. That would be freaky to think about. That is freaky to think about. But, eventually I think that it's going to happen one day, sooner or later. It's just going to happen. Kind of moving on from the sciencey stuff. A little bit of the sciencey stuff. I've been watching a TV show that has kind of caught my eye. It's kind of I didn't think I was going to end up watching it, and it's only been one episode, so I'm not trying to make it that I've seen a lot of it, and I think who has decided to watch it has only seen one episode, because only one episode is out at this point. So, I've actually been watching, The Last of Us, episode 1. And I know that I had said on this podcast that I wasn't going to watch it because, to me, it looks like The Walking Dead. It looks like it. It looks exactly like it. I know the creatures in the show are not zombies. I know that it's a different type of sickness. It's not a zombie type thing. There's actually some stuff that you can kind of, that makes sense within this world of how it happens and all that. And it's interesting. It's very cool. And I know that they're not zombies technically. They're called, I believe there's just the infected is what they're called. So I watched it. I checked it out. And the first episode is like an hour and 20 some minutes. And I'm like, okay, let's see what you got. I'm intrigued. I want to see how this is going to shake up, because let me tell you this. I am a fan of good stories. I am a fan of good storytelling, no matter what it is. TV show, game, movie. I'm a fan. As long as it can get me intrigued, interested, and I want to know more about it, I'll give it a shot. And the more and more that this release got closer and closer, I decided to give this one a shot, because I'm not really watching anything else right now. I haven't really watched any shows really since Rings of Power and House of the Dragon. So in terms of TV, I'm kind of watching nothing right now. It's kind of embarrassing, I know. People tell me that there's a bunch of shit out there that I gotta see and watch. It's like, I'm just not that interested, I'll be honest with you. So I decided to give The Last of Us a shot. And one of the reasons why I also gave it a shot was because the man who created and wrote the series on HBO, Chernobyl, was such amazing TV that I heard that he was going to do this along with the creator of the games. I thought to myself, all right, this could probably be pretty cool. This could be pretty cool. It could be pretty lit. I don't think I've seen one of these type of shows in a while. Since I gave up on The Walking Dead, a show like this could be pretty cool. It could be interesting. It could be, its own thing. We got House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, Star Wars shows. We got a lot of fantasy and science fiction that's kind of like not like supposed to be taken super seriously, although Game of Thrones is like super dramatic and all that, so it kind of is. But it's like this type of thing is more science fiction-y, more grounded, a little bit more grittier, more mature, and it's a big brand, it's a big property. The Last of Us, if you don't know, is based off is a video game first. There's Last of Us Part 1, Last of Us Part 2, and now we have The Last of Us show, which, so far I believe is just going to be telling the story or adapting the story of the first game, I believe. And to my knowledge, after watching the first episode, and let me also clarify this too. I have seen gameplay of the first 2 missions of the Last of Us game. And I don't even actually, do I even have to say spoiler alert right now? Most people that are going to be listening to this have probably played it or seen some of the game or heard some of the game or something like that. But I'm going to say anyway, this is going to be a spoiler thoughts on The Last of Us TV show episode 1, because, there's going to be people out there that probably want to check it out that aren't gamers. Even I think that a big chunk of the people who are watching it are gamers and have played the game. It just seems natural, to me. I can't really see a whole lot of people who have not played the game or don't know anything about it wanting to see a show like this at this time. Honestly, I really don't. But I'm going to say it anyway. Spoiler thoughts incoming. Right now. Right here, right now. So having seen gameplay of the first couple missions, between the show and the game, there isn't a whole lot that I noticed. And again, I didn't play it. I just saw some gameplay. There isn't a whole lot that I noticed that was different from the game compared to the show. There's a couple, scenes at the beginning. There's a character that is more fleshed out, which is Joel, played by Pedro Pascal's daughter in the show. Her name is Sarah. Her story, her character is fleshed out a lot more in the show than in the games. They give her a whole day of you with her, essentially going to school, what she does after school, the people she knows, her friends, and all that. You kind of get a little bit of a backstory on her, the type of character she is, the type of person that she is. And then it really goes into full on, point by point, kind of pretty much the game at that point, or the game story at that point, at least for what I remember. Joel's we gotta go. They get into the car with their uncle. They drive past a couple, people that are infected. They get stopped. They have to turn around. They go through town. It's all fucked up. There's an explosion. Yada yada yada. And then the point comes where Pedro Pascal's daughter is shot because a soldier is ordered to kill them, and then he's gonna kill Pedro Pascal's Joel, and then the soldier is shot by his brother named Tommy. and then it kicks off after that. So kind of like rewinding a little bit and really talking about my thoughts on how that all plays out. It's actually really good. Like the way that the show is like building up to that entire outbreak and that big event of like what is really happening is done so well. You really get this whole feel of something is just not right in that entire episode. Like your people, are on edge. The character Sarah, knows that something is just not right. Is something not right? And you know what was cool though? What was really cool was the show at the beginning is taking place in 2003, and I thought to myself, like, that's really cool because at that point there's no Twitter, there's no tweets, there's no people sharing stuff like instantly. I thought that was very cool because she was having to wait until after school to watch the news, turn on the radio, like say, hey, can I hear that? Can I see that? Asking people, hey, have you heard anything that's going on out there? Have you heard, like, she was like asking like this one lady, like, what's up with all these sirens? What's going on? And she's like, and then the lady's like, oh, it's just, the daily day things, people are crazy out there. And then it's just like, and then after that, all the speculation and like all the tension, the build up, the worriness on her face. She like, the show really captures like the like unease and the unsettledness of the whole situation of what's happening. There's like people like out in the world at this point that are, something's going on. There's cop cars going all over the place, and after some point there's like jets flying over, helicopters, and then it gets really, bad really quickly. I just want to point out that the show really captures that whole like buildup of this outbreak coming, and it doesn't stop. Until he fully like just like, erupts into this outbreak where it's pretty much at this point uncontrollable. And then, that's some like the most, I would say, like the best show writing I've seen in a show that's adapted by a video game up to this date. And I think that it's because, one, those sequences, those scenes don't really diverge a whole lot from how the game was, that I remember at least. It's pretty, frame for frame almost in certain scenes and certain sequences. And I think that that's okay because I think that the game did it pretty well. And I think adding that little bit of a backstory with Joel's daughter and her whole story and her life and all that, and putting that in there, fleshing her out a little bit, only adds to the absolute emotional wreck that happens, when she gets shot and killed by that soldier. That was really sad. Like, that was, like, probably even more sadder than in the show than the game, I'll be honest. I mean, I wasn't expecting, I knew it was coming. Because I've seen it in the game. But when it happened, I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, this is emotionally wrecking me. This is going to wreck a lot of people who see this for the first time. This is going to be crazy. I mean, absolutely, like, and the performances, my God. The woman the girl who plays Sarah, obviously Pedro Pascal in those moments is just like, they are just killing it on screen. It's like, Jesus, man. Like, I'll be honest. They couldn't have cast a perfect Joel than Pedro Pascal. I know I haven't played the games, but just by looking at the guy who's in the video game, Joel, and then looking at the makeup and everything they do for Pedro Pascal to play Joel, it's like, I mean, that's just A1 casting. That's like perfect casting right there. It's just like he nails like the whole like, his whole character. I was just impressed the entire way. I'm like, my God, this guy really is Joel. I was surprised. I really was. I couldn't believe it. And by the way, the effects, the explosions, the camera work, And all these shots and that whole outbreak scene when it's just chaos was so good. So good. I mean, there's like a scene where a plane just is coming down. And the way the planes look in the sky, they're like losing control, eventually crashing to the ground. It's like, whoa, this is so like the scale is so big on this outbreak. It's like literally affecting everybody at the same time. It was so cool. It was so cool to see, and I have to say, as much as I was unsure if I was going to enjoy this show because of me not being a fan of Walking Dead type shows. Zombies, like I said, have really just become not my cup of tea in the past decade. They just haven't been my thing in a while. Maybe The Walking Dead killed it. Maybe it was myself doing it. Maybe it was just all pop culture with zombies this, zombie that, more zombies, even more zombies, stuff like that. I just was out of it. I was bored. I was done. And up until this point in the show, right, we move on from the outbreak. And now we're in 20 years in the future. And, conveniently, in the show, 20 years in the future is 2023. What year is it? 2023. I love when they do that. When they set it in the modern era, one way or another they do it. I'm not sure if that's how it is in the game. I'm not sure if it goes 20 years in the future. I have no idea. But I do know that there is a time jump in the game. I'm not sure how long, though. But anyways, and I'm not even sure if in the game it takes place at the beginning in 2003. I have no idea. But moving on into the future we are now. The world is basically destroyed. And there's a couple factions like the Fireflies and Fedra, I believe. And this is where I think that we get a lot of more of the Walking Dead isms in this type of show. Now we got the humans fighting the humans. Yada yada yada. Now, I'm gonna give it more time. I will, because I can't just say, oh, this is already too much like Walking Dead. I'm gonna quit. Get out of here. I'm gonna give it some time. I truly, truly am, because I feel like I need to give it some more to develop this story of what it truly is about. Is it really just about people fighting zombies and fighting the characters and other people after the infected outbreak and after the world was destroyed? Or is this something deeper? Is there something more there? And we get introduced to these other characters. I believe her name is Marlene, and then Tess, and then and then the girl, obviously, Ellie, is like the main girl in the show. She's like the main girl in the game as well. And then we get introduced to her, how she has not been infected in like weeks. Why is this? We got to get her to this place in, I believe it's Wyoming. And I think that Pedro Pascal, his character, has the motivation to get there because his brother was last seen there at that point. And it's like, where is he at? And then he's like, I gotta go find my bro. Let's get over there. Come on. So we got motivation there. We got family motivation, and we got motivation because this lady, this girl, Ellie, cannot get infected. That's obviously strange. We need to figure that out. What is going on? How do we get there? What's the dealio? So now we have our story. Now we have our quest. They're on their way to that place. And of course, they're not just going to get there within one episode. It's going to be a journey to get there. And maybe at this point, I will be able to tell for sure if this show is just like Walking Dead or if it's something a little bit more. If there's something a little bit more, than just what I see on the surface. How does this relationship between Joel and Ellie form? I don't know, because I've never played the game. I've only seen the first couple missions. So now I'm even more intrigued because I have no idea what's going to happen. I truly have no idea. So I was able to actually find myself enjoying this show quite a bit. I think more than I expected, I'll be honest. And, some parts dazzled me a lot more than the others. I certainly think that the outbreak scene and the whole beginning, even the prologue, when it's like these two scientists discussing um, pandemics and what could really take out a person. One guy was super hooked on viruses and bacteria, the other guy was on fungus. And the fungus guy, in that prologue really made everybody like, whoa, like we're freaking out. Like, what's going on? That can't happen, right? 40 years later, it does happen in the show. And it's like, whoa, that, it gives you an impact. It makes it more impactful and it makes it have purpose. And then it's just like, whoa, like now we have like a fully, people kind of knew about this way back in the day. They just were too ignorant to think that it was going to happen. Well, guess what? It did happen. And so I think that first half of the show is so gripping and is so intriguing and interesting, and you want to know more and more and more. And then the second half, where I still thought it was good, I got Walking Dead vibes, but I'm not going to give it dings for that because I don't know where it's going to go. And I need to give it time to breathe and time to marinate and time to really develop as a show. Because I think now is where I think that we might get some adaptation type stuff in terms of changing things from the game to the show, possibly. There wasn't a whole lot that I could tell within the first episode besides the backstory of the Sarah character, which I think actually added more to the show. Actually made it better than the game. From what I saw from the gameplay that I viewed. I'm not sure if it's like, complete, frame by frame, but it's pretty close to it. What's going to happen after that? Is there going to be more action? Because I don't really remember a whole lot of action being like, like gun stuff, I'm pretty sure like in that first or second mission, you have to fight people, I think, in the quarantine zone that they're in. I'm pretty sure. In the show, it's just not even in there, so we'll see what happens at that point. But I can see why they did that, why they cut that out. It doesn't really make sense in the show, but in a game, obviously, it makes a lot of sense. So, I'm actually intrigued. I'm interested. I like where it is. I think the performance is really good. I think it has the legs to be a really compelling show. I really, really do. And I think that I'm just going to have to stick with it and see where it goes and give you my honest thoughts. I'm probably going to do the same thing what I do with every show that I review on this podcast, is I won't talk about it until I finish it. Or at least, and if I give up, I'll talk about it when I give up. But I'm going to try to make this commitment to complete this Last of Us TV show, whether it be one season or a couple seasons, or at least I'm going to give, the season a review and a score, obviously. But, I don't know if it's going to, how long is it going to be, and I don't think I need to know exactly right now, but are they planning to do like the one game a season? Like how's that going to shape up? What's that going to be like? All I know is that I'm interested. I'm interested. I want to see where it goes. And I actually can't wait to see the next episode. I'll be honest. I want to see exactly what happens next, because now I'm in the realm of I don't know what's going to happen. Now I have no idea because I haven't seen that far in the game. And I could probably watch gameplay of it, but I kind of don't want to. Like, the show actually makes me want to see what's going to happen. And I'm curious to see where it goes and what they change, and also to see what the fans think. I've talked to a couple fans that have watched the show already. One of them really loved it. He thought it was awesome, really good. So did the other. But another fan of the game who has seen the first episode of the show, he thought it was very tame and very safe. And that got me to thinking, like, well, isn't that a good thing? I mean, you were, because I was talking to him before it even came out. I was like, dude, you were like complaining and worrying that they were going to change it and change the entire story. They pretty much in that first episode did not do any of that. And you just thought it was okay? After saying it was like the best game, one of the best games you've ever played? I mean, I just don't see the logic behind that opinion. Now, of course, I'm not going to, you know, get on him on that completely. I mean, he's probably just like, obviously, if you've played the game, you know what this is about. This isn't something new to you. So, of course, he's probably going to feel like, I've seen it before. And I think a lot of people would who've played the game. Yeah, I've seen it. It was good, But what's next? I think that, that also could probably kill this show's momentum, is if it's way too, I guess, like, too, book frame for frame, pixel by pixel to the game. It's like, are the game lovers going to like it? Even though it's like not going to diverge too far from the actual game itself. Will it be like worth their time to watch The Last of Us, or would they just rather play it? I don't know. It's something that's going to really, that time will tell on this one, if it's going to be worth the watch, I think, for these people. Anyways, that's my thoughts on The Last of Us TV show. Moving on to football now, to the main event. I'm so happy as a football fan that we have been getting some awesome, awesome games these past couple weeks. We just had Wild Card Weekend. And let me tell you this, man. Every single game was pretty incredible. Every single game, I thought that this past Wild Card Weekend, except for 2, was worth the hype and worth the wait. And even the ones that were not as good, to me, were still good in their own way. But let's kind of talk about from game to game of what happened. Saturday, midday, 1:30 kickoff Pacific time. We had Seahawks-Niners. Seahawks lost to the Niners 23-41. Now, this wasn't one of the close games, but trust me, if you watched the game, if you were keeping up with the updates and the scores, it was not this big of a beatdown in the second half. The second half, the Seahawks were winning. And I'll be honest with you, I was just absolutely, I could not believe what I was seeing. I was thinking that, oh my God, Brock Purdy's going to have his game where he's bad against the Seahawks. They're not that great of a team, but they have Geno Smith, who is at least a veteran quarterback. He's more experienced than Brock Purdy. This is going to be, the end. And then just as when the 49ers turn it on, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brock Purdy, Jordan, everybody just decided, you know what? Let's just fucking beat these guys. Let's turn it on. Let's beat them. I'm done playing with my food. Let me just devour these Hawks right now. And that's exactly what happened. It was a ruthless comeback, a ruthless show of dominance. The defense, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, all those guys just decided, like, you know what? We're better. Let's kick these guys' asses. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I'm not a 49ers fan. I do not like the 49ers. But I gotta say, they have like the best team right now playing in the NFL. With everybody they got, Kyle Shanahan as their head coach, they have like some of the most talented teams I have ever seen. And not just like on paper, what they can do. I mean, you have Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, both over 100 yards of offense this past weekend. You got to be kidding me. Are you insane? This is some of the best football I've ever seen is played by the 49ers and these guys. It's crazy. And listen, tip my hat to the Seahawks. They had a season where nobody thought that they would even sniff the playoffs, and they still got in. And, are they going to sign Geno to another deal or keep him? I think that they should. I think that they probably should, because they don't really have any draft picks, really. They're not going to be picking high in the draft. They could probably trade for him for someone else, but I feel like at that point, I think it's like kind of like they like him and he likes them. I think that he would want to stick around and be the quarterback for the Seahawks. That's just my thoughts, but I think that'd be a pretty good fit. another year under Pete Carroll, another year to develop him in that system. I think it'd be pretty good. But we'll see. I guess we'll see where that takes us. Second game of that day, Chargers Jaguars. Let's just talk about this right now. I don't believe that Trevor Lawrence is that good. In fact, even though that the Chargers did come back, or the Jaguars came back to win 31-30 after them leading the Chargers leading them 27-0 at the half, which is, one of the biggest collapses I have ever seen. It's a combination of both. Trevor Lawrence threw 4 first-half picks, 4 first-half interceptions. He then comes back to win you the game, but some of the throws that he was making, even after that, kind of in question. A lot of a couple touchdowns that he did throw were to receivers that were wide open. Like, what happened to that Chargers defense? He just could not lock anybody down. It almost felt like he was throwing like he was back in college, where he just had receivers that had so much space and just walked into for the touchdown. Like, what do we do? What's going on here? Like, what is it? Chargers defense just like not playing defense at this point? Like, what am I watching at this point? Justin Herbert didn't play well, but I think that the coaching, especially by Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator, had some pretty boneheaded decisions and calls that he called. Again, like, only scoring like 3 points in the second half. I mean, that's kind of that's pretty embarrassing. That's pretty bad. It definitely, actually, they led 27-7 at the half. But still, I mean, like, you can't tell me that it wasn't a collapse. It absolutely was. You saw it on all their faces. It just was not a good performance, and it was pretty awful. And that actually shocked me, because I think that the Chargers are still overall a better team. They just kind of melted down and let the Jaguars beat them. It was like, it was so stupid, because, like, I truly think that the Chargers were a better team. And the Jaguars really had no business in being even around the playoffs. They're not that great. I think that they're like, they get a lot of things breaking their way, and they just kind of, they don't really surprise me. Again, they beat the Chargers. Yeah, the Chargers, like, I think that they're still better than the Jags. But they're not, like, going to beat good teams, right? I don't see them really beating good teams. So I guess, like, the Jaguars kind of got lucky in this one, in my opinion. I'll be honest. I didn't think that they would win, but they did win. It's unfortunate there. The Giants beat the Vikings 31-24. This game was absolutely pretty much a big, like, a statement that the Giants are a fighting hard team. Even though the Vikings had a better record, statistically the Vikings were better in pretty much every aspect of the game. The Giants don't give a shit. They're like one of the toughest teams in the NFL. They don't care who they're going to play against. They're going to give you everything that they got. And Jesus, Daniel Jones was amazing that game. He was amazing. He was making so much plays. He was running the ball, taking all these crazy hits. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's like a running back. This guy is so strong at the moment. Jesus Christ. And, Kirk Cousins at the end just could not really find any magic towards the end to get them into the position to really actually win the game. There was all these checkdowns and shitty throws. I was just like, what's going on here? Like, are they not trying to win this game? I just was like, what in the fuck? I can't believe what I'm watching here, But it's truly crazy. I really don't, like, know, like, how the Vikings could be this good in the regular season and then during the playoffs just, like, underperform. I think just underperform. They're still pretty good. They just can't get it done when it matters. Not all the blame is on Kirk Cousins this weekend, but definitely more on the Vikings defense and just Daniel Jones really like willing that team to win was pretty much the tail of the game. Ravens lose to the Bengals 17-24. I think that, the Bengals kind of got lucky in the end. They didn't really play their best game, but, neither did both teams, I think. It was kind of a weird, back and forth, I think. And the Ravens pretty much had an opportunity to get the last touchdown and get a Hail Mary and eventually tie that game, but they just, was just off the fingertips of the receiver in the vicinity. I was like, whoa. That could have been close. But I think that the Bengals survived in a game that they really needed to survive. They didn't play that well. Jamar Chase wasn't having that great of a game. And they had a lot of drops, a lot of miscues as well, which kind of cost them some opportunities where they could really extend their lead. And the Ravens were just kind of hanging in there and waiting for the right moment. They pretty much had the right moment. They just did not complete the right moment. And, I think the Bengals got kind of lucky there. They got kind of lucky that they were able to squeak by and just, just keep that, lead and, win that game. So, Bengals they're going to have to play a lot better next week than this week for sure. Last game, Cowboys 31, Buccaneers 14. Cowboys finally beat Tom Brady after so many years. This should have been a no-brainer, I think. The Buccaneers, people talking about how Tom Brady's never lost to the Cowboys and how Tom Brady will show up in big games and how Tom Brady's going to matter when it's in the playoffs and this is what it's all about for Tom Brady. Tom Brady's not good anymore. He's timid. He's shy. He's unathletic. He can still throw it, but he has no real protection back there. He's afraid to get hit. It's pretty much like fully there. He does not want to get hit anymore because it hurts him. It hurts him now. He's 45 years old. Of course it's going to hurt him like hell. He's become more inaccurate. Obviously that's going to happen when the pocket just dies on him. That one ball he tried to throw away ended up being an interception was just one of the saddest things that I've ever seen Tom Brady do or have happen to him. He doesn't look that great. He looks inaccurate. Overthrows, underthrows, a couple really great throws, and then just no offense really. I mean, in the first couple drives, they looked like it was going to be competitive. It truly did, but then it just kind of faded away and it died. The offense died. And just simply could not recover in time for them to make a competitive game. And then meanwhile, the Cowboys, who are in fact the better team, did not choke in this game and actually performed to their standards. And actually, you know what? At the end of the day, do I want to see the Cowboys win? Nah. Do I want to see Tom Brady and the Bucs win? No, not really. But should the better team win? Of course they should. No matter who it is, who you hate, who you like, the narrative, I think the better team should always win because it's what's deserved. Some occasions I like when the underdog wins. If I'm rooting for the underdog, yeah, sure, I would want that too. That'd be pretty cool. In this case, no. The Buccaneers were not a good team at all this year. They finished 8-9. They were not good. They were not in sync all year. They were terrible, awful, just dreadful to watch, unfun to watch, and they went out in that same fashion. Dreadful and unfun and just horrible to watch football. That they didn't play good all year, and they deserve to be out in the playoffs. I'm sorry, but it's true. They don't deserve to move on. If they did, I would be very, very upset because the Cowboys, I know, are a better team, and they play like the better team too. It's just that whole juju and that narrative of fucking Tom Brady never losing to the Cowboys and how Tom Brady always tries in the playoffs even harder. Not this year. Not for a 45-year-old quarterback who doesn't really have an offensive line and just is afraid to get hit. I mean, if one of the big factors in getting old as a quarterback is you don't want to get hit anymore and you can't take those hits no more, that might be the time. Might be time for you to hang it up. It's not going to get easier. It's only going to get harder. The hits you're going to take are going to be more painful. It's just going to be harder to recover. It's like, what are you doing, bro? You had it last year. Your retirement was good. It was a good one. Now you got to, what, are you going to play 2 more years? I don't know if I want to watch 2 more years of Tom Brady, I'll be honest. I know he likes football. I know he loves football. I just, like, when I watch, it's like, oh my God, he's trying so hard to be good. He's trying so hard to be the old Tom Brady, but his body won't allow it. And then, so that was the wild card weekend. Last thing before I go is I wanted to give my predictions for the next round, which is the divisional round. And we got Jaguars, Chiefs, the first game on Saturday at 1:30 Pacific. I am going to go Chiefs. I don't think that when people see this matchup and they're like, "Oh, the Chiefs are, they're going to lose it, they're going to blow it, and the Jaguars are hot. They just came back from the Chargers." Listen, the Jaguars beat the Chargers. They have to play the Chiefs now. There's a big difference between the Chiefs and the Chargers, people. There is a huge difference. I just don't see Andy Reid losing to these Jaguars. I really don't. So I'm picking the Chiefs just because of experience, because I think they have a better team, a much better quarterback, and they're playing at home. Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs all day. Giants, Eagles. This is tough. This is extremely tough. I think that I'm going to go Giants only because the Eagles still, Jalen Hurts is not 100%, but neither is anybody at this point. But that injury, I think, with Jalen Hurts is such a nagging injury, such an uncomfortable injury, that it's going to be really tough for him to play quarterback with that injury. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones is just on fire. He is super confident. He put that team on his back last weekend. I can seriously see the Giants being these Eagles this coming up weekend. For sure. It's definitely a possibility. My brain says pick the Eagles, but I'm thinking I think the Giants can actually beat them. I think they really can beat them. So I'm going to go with the Giants. I'm going to go with the Giants on this game. Sunday's games. Bills, Bengals. Bengals, Bills. I'm taking the Bengals. I know that it's probably going to be blow up in my face. The Bills are at home. They have Josh Allen. But, dude, the Bengals have Joe Burrow. I mean, as great as Allen is, I think he's incredible. I think Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Joe Burrow, I think, has that killer instinct in him that he is going to snag this game away and bag it in his bag, and at that last minute just get that perfect drive and just seal that win for the Bengals. I got that feel, man. I just do. I know how good the Bills are, but but I've seen them this year. They're not invincible, and I think that if they want to beat the Bengals, they have to be invincible, and they've shown in this season and even this couple playoffs that they can play uninvincible and make mistakes. I think that the Bengals can capitalize on those. I truly think that the Bengals can capitalize on the Bills' mistakes. So I'm going to take the Bills. Not the Bills. I think that the Bengals will capitalize on the Bills' mistakes. So I'm going to take the Bengals to win this game. And then the last game on Sunday night, Cowboys 49ers. Man, what a matchup, right? These are some great matchups that we have this year. I think both teams are really, really good. Really good. Extremely good. But the way the 49ers are playing right now, they are playing some complete football. Complete football. And the Cowboys just beat the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are not the 49ers. The 49ers are probably the best team in the NFL. Better than the Bills, better than the Eagles. I think that they're the best team in the NFL. I truly do right now. So, am I going to pick the Cowboys to beat the best team in the NFL? No. No, I'm picking the 49ers to win. And the 49ers just run all over the Cowboys. I mean, what a great matchup, right? Incredible matchup. Cowboys, Niners in San Francisco. I mean, what more could you ask for, right? But I still think that the Niners, even though both teams are really good, the 49ers to me are playing the best football right now in the National Football League. And I'm sorry, Cowboys, but you're not going to play the Bucs again. You're playing the 49ers. And I think that they're going to beat them up badly at home. That's going to be it for today, folks. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. This podcast drops every Thursday. Make sure to hit the like, subscribe, share with your friends, comment, and all that good stuff. Yes, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week.